folks, I'm supposed to have my cover image up here, but hey, welcome to the mix. We're going to continue working on page art today. You can see a little spoiler down there in the corner, but we'll zoom in on that guy here in a moment. We're going to work on the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration supplement that we've been building for publication on the DMsGuild, hoping for an August completion date. So cross your fingers and kick it with me, and we'll see how we can end up landing with this. I'm going to go check my signal here real quick, go through my quick intro spiel, and then we'll get some painting done. Go through my check. All right, that sounds good. So I've just posted that I'm live on Twitter. If you want to follow me on Twitter at Phil Kearney, you can get notifications just like now when I go live in the future. I also have a Patreon. There's a link down and below at Phil Kearney. Where I post preview stuff and playtest content. My name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing game supplements I publish online. So I've been focusing my attention on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Obviously, we're working on a Spelljammer supplement right now, but we're also building an Eberron adventure, as well as martial powers, alternate martial magic. If you're familiar with 3rd edition, then like Book of the Nine Swords type of stuff blended in with 4th edition martial powers. So check out all that stuff. Like, subscribe to the channel, help boost the signals, blah de blah. Almost done with my uploads here. And then so what we're going to do is we've been building this supplement here, about 108 pages right now. We did all the creation for it, all the text design over the past year, and now we're done with the spiel here. Let's get my screen lined up so I can clickety clunk. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, cool. Artwork, book cover back on episode 15 of the stream, but over the past year, we developed, and I closed the document, but we have a Word document with 100 some odd pages of it of mechanics for ships and exploration, adventuring. All of this is at the 50, 500 foot scale, 1 mile, 10 mile, up to 100 million mile scale for you to do space crawls, conducting combat in ships as though they were you as a person for the team, using the same mechanics as 5th edition combat in dungeons or in the field. Upscaled to massive sizes. So, hey Tyler. Hey, Hornetico. Let's see. Where are we at with our art? Let's drop our book cover. Hold on. Page. Don't need that. Don't need the cover. Foul and Deadly Air. Here's what I started working on last night. And I've put about 3 hours into this so far. So for a little spot illustration, I'm pretty fucking pleased. So obviously it's not a huge footprint on the page, but this is exactly the kind of crap that I want to get done for this book. So I'm really excited to work on this. I expect this to be finished today, this morning, and then I want to go start working on the Conjure ship, Damselfly, that we were constructing. So this was done. Since I wasn't around to demonstrate how this was initially built, I'll extract all the layers here for y'all to take a gander at. Burp, bump, bump, bump. So this is the sketch that we started off with, right? We did that yesterday. And then from there, I created the rock, which is just a flat color that I borrowed off of the Omama combat map that we illustrated back around, I want to say it was like around episode 50. You can go check out the asteroid maps that we were building around episode 50 for the color references here. And then we added in some shading, so this established that there's a left-hand light source. So we established that light source with some highlights. That took care of the rock. Next thing we're going to do is add treetop foliage. So, bump, bump. Bob Ross style, we start with a tree trunk, and then we sketch in some evergreen shrubbery. We highlight it with a color that is very faint, but just enough texture to be there. And then we add a front line of shrubbery. see. And then from there, we added in our air bubble, which is the same color that we've been using for the ships to help establish the aesthetic for the setting and the rule system that I use. By having an air bubble around everything, it helps create that presence and reinforce the space in Astral separating from the space that your ship and your team occupies. From there, I dropped in disable. From there, I dropped in a sky, a space landscape that I also stole from the Omama combat map that we've been developing, and then I put a layer mask on it so that it would fit inside the text space that we have here. And I decided to go with a wash so that the trees would be able to stand out more from the background, but also to allow the actual color illustration to bleed into the page environment as a sort of meta aesthetic. And that's when I had the the idea to add in a grid behind all of it, because the example over here is, for example, plants and creatures can exchange and sustain fresh air together. A 50-foot space, I already got rid of that space, I noticed that already. A 50-foot space occupied by plants can sustain a 5-foot space occupied by breathing creatures. For example, a 200-foot asteroid covered in vegetation can sustain fresh air for one gargantuan creature occupying a 20-foot space, or up to 16 medium creatures, each occupying a 5-foot space indefinitely. So when I built the grid, it's 50, 100, 150, 200. This is a 200-foot space that this asteroid is occupying. And with the grid literally behind the trees, you can tell that these things are about 70, 80 feet tall, which is the kind of vegetation we're talking about to be able to sustain creatures indefinitely. So then I added a layer mask into the line art to help that also bleed in. And that's where we're at currently. So this is, I'm hoping, this is experimental art right now, where we're just playing with the palette and the language of the map. But I think this is embodying basically. Oh yeah, and then we had the highlight, the sheen, using the color reference of the page itself as a light source to create that bubble sheen effect. So last time I saw it was squiggle lines. Yeah. Thanks, Hornetico. This was about 3 hours worth of work. So, but again, it's a really small print on the page. I'm trying to keep sketches, artwork small like this, so I can do this type of thing. So I can punch through an illustration every day. So that's the intent here. So I've been going through the process of laying down a bunch of sketches to give my brain something to help resolve in the background. And once it gets into that space, then I'm going to take this brush here, and I just want to smooth that out. Just it was bothering me while I looked at it, so I just wanted to address this. But yeah, so I'm hoping that I like this aesthetic. I think it's super cool. I've never seen anything like this before, and I like, considering how meta, like mechanically meta, the document, the combat stuff is, and the exploration, all the procedural stuff and mechanical breakdown of how to interact with the physics of space. I think it's appropriate to have this grid plane in the background to help reinforce that sense of scale. So I'm hoping I can preserve that through other pieces like this that we do, and it also helps with the integration of, like, to transition from color art into the page art. And I also think that this language will work for Astral as well. Either like replace the space illustration here, backdrop, with Astral, or I could also do normal wild space and then bleed into Astral like this, and even then further beyond Astral, bleed into the meta physics behind it of the technical document of just page behind that. So and hopefully if I can establish enough of this, I'll be able to bounce back and forth between color backgrounds for actual illustrations like this versus just black and white, just page and a grid background for the technical stuff that we're doing, like with ship, like with the, pardon me, my nose, like ship graphing and diagram movement and stuff like that we were illustrating previously. I'm kind of rambling a little bit. I woke up at I woke up at 3. It's 6 o'clock here now in Seattle. Oh, I got a timer. Thanks for reminding me. I woke up at 3, and this thing just absolutely drove a spike through my head. This is what happens. I won't be able to sleep. I'll wake up at weird hours, and the muse she says, it's time, get up. I'm like, what are we doing? She says, sit down and get to work. And this is what she does. So I'm proud to have her presence with me during this project. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes. But I need to... Yeah, that's okay. That looks okay. Cool. So what I'm going to do from here to continue this is I'm going to take the here, and we'll go free transform. Why are you... Oh, because of this. Get out of there, you ragamuffin. Nope, there's still something... Oh, is my text trapped up in there? It shouldn't be. There we go. Thank you. Let's try that one more time. Free trend. What is your problem? Tree bubble reference. Trash. Let me grab this and do that. I'm trying to flip this freaking thing. It just don't wanna. There. Why is that such a big area? Oh, it's because of the right, because of how much space we have. All right. Well, sorry. Yes, this giant blob here of all of this space. I forgot how fucking large that is. That's okay. Now that I understand what my problem is, all I'm trying to do is flip this thing upside down so that I can work on the underbelly of the bubble. Thank God it actually fit back into place where it's supposed to be. So when I flip it back over, it'll be in the right position automatically. But yeah, we're going to repeat that process right now. So this top scrub is behind the horizon line of this asteroid. So I have the top foliage in a layer that's in a lower position in the layering hierarchy. You have the sheen bubble here. You have the rocks. So I'm going to create a new layer here, which is going to be under scrubbage. And before I go any further, I want to take this bubble sheen here. Like that. I'm going to conceal the sky so I stay inside the lines. Just fade in that little bubble sheen. I like the bubble. I don't know if it's appropriate to have that bubble sheen or not, but I just think it's a cool aesthetic, and it I know they call it an air envelope in 5e, which I just think is a horrible title. I don't think they were thinking about branding at all when they did that. But I mean, if that's my biggest, it isn't my biggest complaint. It's just one of them. but I like the bubble aesthetic in general. I think is I'm particularly proud of that. So I just want to make sure I get the curve right here, so it's complementary. Curve that out. There we go. My biggest complaint about streaming is if I want to listen to copyright music, I have to put on headphones, and it just makes me feel like I'm disconnecting from the audience. You know, you're not suffering with me. So, or rather, you're suffering and I'm not. That's what I'm trying to say. If I get to listen to Led Zeppelin, you're listening to duty-free music. That just doesn't feel fair. But I don't want to get, strikes. So I do a lot of, I will end up doing a lot of work offline, because sometimes for me to finish a piece, I have to be listening to like 3 hours of Pantera. So, we'll get there. This is just my cloud smudge brush, because it's a very, very delicate, low RAM usage smudge tool that does a really good job with delicate work. It's my go-to on almost anything smudgy. There we go. That feels right. It really does take this long for me to smudge this in, because I want to make sure that the curve is right, that the whole curvature of the whole sheen is correct, and that it's not bowing in any weird ways, that the actual, you know, geometry of the curve is appropriate. So far, I'm pretty happy. I could probably just copy this one and flip it, but that didn't feel right. Okay, once I get that finished out, that should be fine. There we go. Not quite. You know what? I'm going to try that. Rotate 180 degrees. It seems like sometimes the act of piracy is the proper course of action. Okay. Let's cut that down to 35. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm on board with that. All right, screw you, Oofus. Sometimes you gotta go wrong to do it right. Bubble is done. Let's see. We'll go with bubble light under scrubbage. All right, so let's get back on task with our rock. Duplicate, merge, seal. There. I'm gonna do that. Trim this down a little bit. Keep our lines clean. Here. It's silly that I would do this because I'm about to scratch the whole thing up, but I think I just want to start from a common point. I'm going to switch to my chisel. Where's my chisel? My mountain chisel. There you are. There you went. Come back here. There, mountain chisel. Here. This is how the actual chisel looks. So you can see here, it's got that clean edge along the bottom, and then it has all this like this serrated tooth effect that lets you grab pixels at different spaces and pull them together but you have that hard line so that if you have a very high strength smudge brush, it acts as a painting knife. It cuts across the paint and pushes it to where you need it to be. So it's a really, really good tool. This is something that I developed watching, basically extracting patterns of snow on mountains that Bob would paint. I would pause the video and then grab an outline of the shape, drop it into Photoshop, and then futz with the teeth. It's the teeth that are the hardest part. They're the ones that create all the texture and the grit. They add a lot of grip to the brush, but it's really, really good at, even this is really pretty good at blending. But if I use a really high strength, I can just cut into things really easily with it. There. So I just want to do a little bit of cleanup along the edges here. I'm going to flip the brush over so I have my flat edge working with me again. I can cut into here. And here I can blend this down into there. Again, working with the lighting of the piece. Like that. Flip it over so I can work that edge into the shadow. Push over here. I can pull that in here like that. There. So now I can just groove with the interior to let it kind of mash and go wherever I want finger painty. And once I'm happy with the topography, I'll start vegetating it. Got trees on the top side. I don't want to duplicate that. I want to have low brush on this side. I haven't quite worked out what that's going to be, but I have a pretty cool reference where, yeah, reference. So we'll check out the reference here in a few minutes, but I just want to get this language established here so I know where my shape and my highlights are going to be on the contours of the asteroid mass. Really, really good for pushing highlights and shadow around. See how easily it makes just neat little geomorphic shapes and land flow and pocks, little pock marks. I like this brush a lot. I'm going to drop the strength of the brush so it smudges in and blends along that curve a little bit better. And then I can push up the strength again and start chiseling that stuff some more. There. Change the size, change the grit. I don't want to change it too much. There we go. How you guys doing today? What's going on? I'm going to be doing Eberron later on tonight in about 13 hours. We'll be on doing more cartography tonight, fleshing out floors and utensils and stuff in the rooms. I'm looking forward to being done with that map. Because I want to mess that place up, man. I want to have that zombie attack happen and bloody that place up, like just puddles of suffering all throughout that town. That is my end goal. I actually just want to get done with the village. I'm honestly looking forward to getting into token art for the Emerald Adventure for all the NPCs and the creatures that are running amok inside of the environment. So I still have to finish the town map, the post slaughter town map, as well as some like maybe 4 or 5 like 20-inch vignettes. So we probably have a few weeks worth of work yet to do, but we'll get it done. Cut out that shape there. What's up? Pornetico says, hey, not much on my end. Okay. Hey, right on. And after that, I need to work on some design for a dragon I've got cooking. Hey, cool. Right on, dude. Yeah, therapy messes me up, man. No, you said counseling. Whatever. Same thing. Probably. I don't know what kind of counseling you're doing, man, but I have trauma. People with disabilities almost always have trauma of some sort, just because they don't function in society normally. So there's a lot of baggage you carry automatically as a result of it. So it's just building tools to cope with things that other people don't have to worry about. That it always helps to have a coach to help you through those sort of things. So yeah. I've talked about that a bit before, about how disabled people have to develop different tools and basically rules to try to have an even footing with other people that aren't saddled with whatever flaw you've taken. And you have to find, I think the most healthy thing that I've been able to do is to find the feats that I purchased for the flaws that I have. Like D&D, like role-playing games in general is great because it gamifies and quantifies characters, people, personalities, individuals, existences. So instead of, getting pissed off about vision or something, I can look at it instead as this is a flaw. And when you're building a character, flaws grant benefits, extra feats or stat advantages. So I kind of like to have that as my frame of reference for. I saddled when I built this game and I dropped this character into the simulator. I had a number of parameters set up, and it's my job to kind of figure out what those rules are and what I'm optimized to do as a character and start adventuring on that path. And evidently, mine was art. Apparently, art was too easy for me if I had normal eyes. So we're doing this. Probably bored. I suspect I'm very, very bored. Next thing I know, I'll try to be a deaf composer, perhaps. We'll see. But it's fun. If you make life a game, then you don't have to get angry about the rules. You just have to recognize what tier of play you're in and try to level up. But I came from a family with a father that was like, I don't care what your limitations are, no one else is going to give a crap about you. So you're going to have to figure it out. So good luck, kid. It's like, maybe he could have been a more supporting father. But that's part of the story, right? That helped build the machinery that I needed to be able to have this kind of perspective in the first place. So, to that sense, thanks, Dad. I honestly appreciate you. Me being pissed off at him most of my life honestly gave me a lot of drive to prove his point, quite frankly, in an ironic way. Let's just call it like it is. But it was worth. Glad he was in my life. Looking forward to catching up with him again someday and thanking him properly. Hey, timely timer. Have a sip of coffee and keep it at. So I think I'm okay with the rock so far. I've still got an hour and a half to go. Cool. So rock is good. Let's get into shrubbery. So we have a reference image here, which is where I was pulling color references for the trees. I pulled from here and here and here for my highlights, but I'm going to do some underbrush. So I'm going to jump down. Let's see. Since I'm colorblind, I have to use photo references for all my color work. So I can use my RGB scale up here in the right-hand corner for my base color. And I'm probably going to want to have something darker. So I want to find something that's a lower value. See, here's my highlight. I know that's going to pop on the piece because that's a high. Back off a little bit. See, it sticks out a lot. It's a good highlight color, but it's too sharp. It's too bright. Too high value. High value, like white being highest value and black being zero value. 0 to 255 pixels on the board here. This value, zero value or low versus high or white. So that's the no meta commentary there. It is what it is. That is a decent replacement. Yeah, it's fairly similar in value. Again, value, gray tone to the like here, but otherwise it's pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that. I'm going to start here with that as my base texture, my base color. Now I want to find a brush I want to use for texture, and since I'm not going to do, since I have an overhead perspective, like an underbelly perspective of this rock, and I can see more of it than I can see the top side, I want to go with lower a what's the word I'm looking for? More like ground scrub than tall trees. So, oops, this one is not the right brush. I want a spin brush. So hold on, let me go down here to my bottom set, and let's go fishing. There we go, half stroke down face, spin brush. There. So I can use that as my base. I can reduce the arc of the curve. See, now it's less curved. I can influence, I can, here, going back into this tool. See, I can influence by having rounder so it has a more pronounced crescent, or I can reduce it so it's more of a plane. See, I can match the topography of my terrain with the curvature of this brush, and when I feather it all together here, you'll see. See, and I can curve the brush around so I can get that going, but it causes just a grittiness. This is just a base layer, so I'm just peppering this on, but I'm also going to use the same brush with an eraser and about a larger tooth, but a lower, like a low opacity. So when I chop at it, it thins it, so it you can see how the rock pokes through, so it's more like moss. We can use that as a base layer as we continue to build up the vegetation underneath it. So I'm just grabbing that as a chunk, and then I'm going to do it again in a separate layer, and I'm going to drop down the size of the brush and play with this angle up here. But if I partially erase it, it leaves some color signature, but allows the topography and the lighting that we built for the structure to shine through, so that it continues to feed the curve, And this rounded surface, this brush is really great for rounded surfaces like that. I can can increase the curvature out here at the edge, and then I can flatten it further into the piece here so I can complement the curve of the object. And then over here I just flip the brush over and I can continue that curvature process, buff it out a little bit more there, like that. And again here, it doesn't matter if there's like this artifact replicating pattern right now, because we're going to erase most of it anyway. This is just texture that we're putting in right now, which is why it doesn't matter that the value of this base color that I'm using is so close to the actual rock itself. That's actually what I want, because it's going to actually help the whole thing blend into each other. You can see how this is, I can change the angle on this and it just complements the contours of the rock that we made. So it helps reinforce the language that we created already. Just like that. There. Now I get to go back in with my eraser and just tap at it. Tap, tap, tap-a-roo. And you'll see how it just kind of grits into it. I can flip this over like this to complement the underbelly. Just push around like that. There's no real rule about how much or how little. I just want at least a little bit of green color information remaining on the rock. It doesn't have to be anything significant. Again, it's just texture, just grit. I don't really care what it ends up doing. And I don't want any control. I just want an attitude. Merge that down, and then I can tap at the whole, there we go, tap at the whole thing just a little bit more. I'm gonna use the smudge tool to push this stuff down. I shouldn't be using the chisel tool anymore because I'm not stoneworking. I am back to the cloud spin brush. There we go. Like that. There we go. I just don't want this artificial edge jutting out. There. There. Okay, so there's this mossy grit is what we're looking at right now. So we're going to build a new layer. Now that we have that as a good base mid-level, I like the idea of that darker tone. So I'm just going to dive in here, see what it gives me. Yeah, I'm okay with that. But now I want something significantly lighter. I'm going to stay on the blacks right now, very low value. We're going to switch up the brush that we're using. I think... I don't want a foliage, like a general foliage brush. I think I'm just gonna go with a foliage thing. So this is how this thing looks. That basically it creates a little stipple pattern. It's generally good for like if I'm doing a bush that's anywhere from say 300 to 600 pixels in size across, which could be like an inch or two on a canvas of 20 inches. Pretty small space in the overall scope of things. This can come across as like buds or like little polyps in a bush, like little summer flowers, depending on the color that I choose. But I'm going to again flatten this brush down. So it has this kind of look. I'm going to drop the size on it. And this is the wrong brush. This one has a chaos spin set into it. I should have known that. Hold on. Let's go find the other one. I need to name that better, but I'm not going to mess with it right now. I'm going to learn that lesson again later. Let's go find a less, this should be less chaotic. Nope, it's equally chaotic. Let's give it a go. My heart keep getting pulled to it, so it must be there for a reason. So I'm gonna stick to the shadowy spots with this. And changing the size of the brush to stay inside the spaces that we're looking at here, so it doesn't have sprawl unnecessarily. But again, we're going to go in with the same brush that we used before. Even though we're using a different texture brush to add it, we're going to use the same eraser so that it has a common, what's the word I'm looking for? Has the same texture ultimately. As I erase into this, it'll just intuitively have a similar texture. There. Brush over like that. There. Again, this is just grid. We're just dirtying up the surface, but reinforcing the lighting that we have from the contours of the stone already. And then we're going to go with the highlight that we chose. We're going to go with a low. I'm going to go with a lower. I dropped the opacity to 60%, so it's going to have half the color language that it should, because I don't want to overwhelm the highlights underneath here. I want to kind of just pepper it in and let it blend a little more. Oops, I am using. I didn't mean to use the same layer as the shadow. That was a derp. Let's try that again. There we go. Drop this in over like that. See how the brush is spinning, changing sizes, and bouncing around on its own. Every time I tap, it has a spin variable. Here, I'll open up the tool for you guys to take a look. Let's see. What's it called? Is that? Nope, that's not what it is. It's, where the fuck is it? Windows. Brush settings, thank you. Jesus. So you can see I have a scattering variable on here that does a count jitter, a scatter jitter. So it has a little bit of a variable spin on it. And then shape dynamic, I have an angle jitter. So every time I tap, it causes it to have a different angle, as well as on the the Z plane. So it actually tilts a little bit as I tap as well. And then the size jitter, again, it makes it bigger and smaller. So there's an inconsistency in each of the prints, so that it artificially adds depth. Every time I tap, it resets all the variables. It just randomizes what the next shape is going to be. So it really is. I find that's the closest way to be able to simulate the dabbing that Bob uses with his fan brush when he hits, because you can't control how each individual little brush is going to splat against the canvas. It has all these little shapes. So by building a shape like this, that is essentially just a stipple pattern, right? But then changing the variable in the angles, and then the z-axis bend changes them from circles into oblongs, into lines, and then it has all the different angle and then the different sizes. So it creates a really wide spectrum of texture language with very, very little effort on my part. It's just a dab. Every time I dab it, it hits, and it changes how it gets hit, just the way that Bob uses his fan brushes. So once you can analyze what the physics of a brush stroke is when you're looking at somebody working on actual canvas, you can use the tools inside of your digital art program to simulate and mimic that motion. It's not so much the end result is what you want. Like, what's the result of me dabbing like this stippling or this scraping or this X and swirl smudge effect? What's the result that you get from that, and how can I simulate that result, that brush stroke? That's what I want to build with my brushes. So that's some of the philosophy that goes on behind that. But now I think we've got a decent texture going on in the rock here. And as I poke around, I can see a lot more jitter, like up here in the corner on the right-hand side of the screen. You can see how the RGB is jittering back and forth as I move around, because there's so much color information packed from pixel to pixel that's doing this little jitter, for lack of a better word. So, and it has that vague stone greenness to it, but I can use that. Starts off as a good base. So now we have the base of the rock. We can actually add foliage, like little clumps of bushes and shit. So that's the next thing we're going to do. I'm going to lock these down into a group. We're going to call it ground moss, and now we're going to build shrubbery. So going back into our brush, we're going to go fetch. I have this. I'm going to go with the conifer tips. I think that's where I want to be at with this. So here's what this one looks like. No, that's not good. Here, that's what this one looks like. So if I do something like this, and you pull back, it has I can do interesting fractal things with this pretty easily. See, I can make little interesting little brush things with just a couple taps. So that's the kind of language we can introduce into this, and that's what we'll do. So I'm going to grab I'm going to stay down here. I got some cool brush stuff going on down here. I think that's stone face I'm looking at. So I'm going to play around over here. I like that. And matchmaker, make me a match. That should be okay. No, that is. I need a darker base. Base! How low can you go? That should be good. So I'm erasing the bottom of it because I want it's the top fronds that I want. The little, the splayed tips is what I'm really interested in here. Most of it's unnecessary. So I'm kind of dotting it in and then erasing underneath it. Yeah, no, that's not working. I'm not liking that brush. Let's try a different one. Frond is wrong. Let's go find something better. Grind. I can just go with a basic. Oh, maybe we can just use our foliage spin. Maybe that'll work for us. Probably not. So I act like I know what I'm doing, but I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing like the rest of us, but I've got enough tools that I can. What I really need is something a lot darker, just to really, really punch out. That should do. Thank you, timer. I need to get done with this. I have an hour. I have an hour and 10 minutes. Okay. So we should be able to get done with this. I want to get to that ship today. Still not happy. Let's try. Grab that as a highlight. We'll keep that as a base. Let's try something simpler. Beep, 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 beep. All right, let's give you a go. All right, looks like we found the thing that we needed. We found it. So I'm erasing underneath there so that I can add in a like steps, you know, like layers, almost like hedgerows that stack onto each other. So it helps create depth. By erasing most of the base, it's going to end up being hidden by whatever is the next perspective. Like that. Hit that with a light, what, 30% eraser, 20%, something casual just to push it in a little bit. And I'm going to create another layer that's underneath so that I can sit back over here and do it like that. Push that scrub in like that. Put another one in behind that, further up the hill. Grind that in. Tap, 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 like that. Just like that, and then go in here like pop, 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 pop. That's the stuff. Not bad. So far, so good. I'm pleased. I'm going to see about the highlight now. How we can make that work for us in a similar fashion. Yeah, no, that didn't do it. I gotta be really careful about my angles. I'm gonna use a larger, use a larger brush. Nice. See how well that, I can tap that in and let that blend into the under the shadow color underneath it, and it starts to create this really interesting like grain, like wheat, you know, like wheat tips. So I don't know the right word for it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that looks pretty fucking good. Another layer, so I don't disrupt the stuff behind it, but I want to keep working this front edge. If anyone that's checking this out, if you want to see more of this type of work, specifically this landscape style, this is the same sort of work I'll be doing on the Reclamant book cover that I'm creating for Joseph Vargas, also known as Ukulele Bard, who's doing some really great Pathfinder work. But this is for that'll be the Reclamant role-playing game book cover that he commissioned me to build for him. So we'll be using these same type of techniques, but at a larger scale for a more broad landscape environment in general. So, but it's the same idea, it's the same sort of brushes. So anyone that's lurking out there that's interested in this style of work, you're certainly I'm actually gonna use a shadow here to counter blend there. But yeah, Saturday morning. Typically, well, it's what, 7 a.m. here in Seattle, so typically around 9:30ish on Saturday morning for a couple hours like this. We'll do mountain. We're going to do tomorrow, on this Saturday, we're going to do mountains, land masses in general, as well as start laying down pardon the pun, but the groundwork for the different fields, meadows, glades, and copses of trees that are going to be throughout that environment. So You can check that shit out with me if you want. It's going to be basically more of the same, but just talking about the process, kind of like we're doing right now. That's the goal. So give you guys a look-see at how this thing do. There, like that. Then you know, like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, yada yada. Keep encouraging me to do crap like this, and I'll keep doing it. There we go. I think I'm almost done with this. I'm waiting to hit the edge along here for the highlights. For the memes! I can't have anything outside the air bubble. That's actually pretty important. Mm-hmm. Cool. Just a little bit more. Let's go in this and this and this and this and this and this. Good. Good. Open that up a bit. that. We're almost done. And then we'll move on to the dragon, the damselfly ship. I'll publish this later on today on Twitter, and if you know where I hang out on Discords, I'll post under the various art threads of the Discords I hang out at. But I'll have this on Twitter later on today as well, if you want to take a look at it. But this is the kind of stuff that I'm hoping to put in the book. We're about what 4.5 hours now on this illustration from inception, like the sketch from yesterday till present. So that's how quickly landscape pieces can go. The next trick is going to be how quickly can I illustrate a ship. If I can illustrate a ship with the same efficiency as I can with landscapes, yeah, right. We all know that landscapes are my strength because I am incredibly organic in my process, and that structure, hard lines, and like metallic and plastics are not my specialty, like at all. So I'm going to really be challenging myself on that project. But I got a little highlight here that I want to play into real quick here. Drop that all into the since I'm only using a 20% opacity, it's like it takes off 80% and then it leaves 80%. So the next one is like 20%, 16%, 12%, 9%, 7.2%, 5 point whatever percent. It edges down like that. So it takes like 7 or 8 taps for me to fade this value into the background, which is why I have to keep tapping incessantly like that at the position, because I'm intentionally using a very low eraser setting so that there's a lot of variables to help increase the random organic feel of this piece dropping in. So if that makes any sense. Almost done. We'll do like this. Just on the bottom edge like that. Feel like I need a dark edge to run like this. Just to resolve that stone. Like that. That should be good. I'm going to use a really dark over here. Where'd that go? Actually, perfect timing. Thank you. Yes. Let's add in some ultra dark. Exactly what this needed. I'm gonna drop this thing like way back here. What does that mean? I got an hour left? Okay. Yeah, I got an hour. A little less than an hour. Let's be honest. There. Good. There we go. All right, I think I can be content with that. So we'll stitch all this up. Yeah, under scrub. Now we'll take the whole bubble. It's gonna be all that. Collapse this. And let's take this, and we'll go free transform, and then flip vertical, and blip. There we go. It feels pretty good. I think I want an edge. Something thin like that. Something like that. I'm going to erase that in a little bit. Just get that curve to blend from one side to the other, like that. Just like that. So again, I'm following the contours of the stone around the edge, so it's not like a plate. It's an eroded rock, right? There we go. All right, cool. Nope, not quite yet. I'm gonna do that. One more. Just, I don't like that. I want to... There. That's what I want. There. Just like that. A little more like this. There. Yep, there we go. Just now I'm being nitpicky. Because as much as I want to work on the dragonfly, my real objective is just having this Dunzo. There we go. There, good, happy, content. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. Cool, we'll hit save for that. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. Good enough anyway, for a sketch, you know. Lock. So lock down that page. I should probably pull the text into it. Bloop, bloop. Trying to pull the text into it. Thank you. Right. This is the way. All right, cool. We'll hit save here. We'll come back. We'll extract that and drop it into Twitter later on. Let's see. We want to go back to spellcasting. That's right. You're completely off the page. So let's go to open and then interior pages, spellcasting. That's the one. And what we want to do is grab a color reference. So we'll go into our vessels. Vessel tokens. Bloop. Alakazam. Thank you. Did it? Get out of here. Copy. Nope. Here's our image reference that we'll use here. Damsel fly. I have no idea how this is going to go. Like, at all. Caster. Lock the text. Trash. Yeah, okay. So let's drop the opacity on that. Let's drop the colors. No, let's just black white it. There you go, buddy. Go back to our hard ground brush. All right, wish me luck. Yeah, that feels about right. Yeah. Do 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 do. There we go. So far, my drafting skills from college are serving me. I took some CAD classes. Actually, it was just physical drawing. It was mostly just grid paper and number 2 pencils. But it was about taking 2-dimensional schematics and then being able to project them into 3-dimensional shapes. Typically in the 3/4 overhead or sidelong isometric view, but then I took a slew of art classes that play with perspective and stuff like that, and I was able to merge the two together pretty effectively for me to be able to create yart pieces here. The free transform perspective tool. There we go. There we go, like that. There we go. Like that. There we go. Here. Here. Thank you. What, 40 minutes left? 20 minutes left. All right. So far, so good. So what? 1, 2, 3. There we go. Thank you. So yeah, I'm sketchy, not very delicate. I'm hoping on the cleanup that I can make finer lines. But it's less rough, which is important. Feel like this should be like this, and then maybe like turn up. Let's do that. Turn a little bit more. All right. Well, there we go. Maybe more like this. Like that. Almost where I want to be. I'm gonna skew that. Let's do this. Perfect. Free transform. Tilt it a bit. That should be good. And it needs to be a little slower. Like that. And then curve in. Yeah. Like that. Nope. More like that, perhaps. Perhaps. Nope. No, I completely botched this up. Let's go back as much as I can. These are all bad choices. Bad. There. That was the right answer. I know. That feels just about right. So a little splash of color in here just to make the thing do. That. That. This and this, all of these, down to like that, and this. Yeah, like that. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey there, Holmes. Yeah, Inop. Let's try that again. Thank you. There we go. Almost there. Stay on target. Yeah, not happy with that flicker I just saw. I hit save here real fast before that fucks me up. There we go. Well, that's not so horrible. So far, so good, right? Bloop, bloop. Take this and this, and we can drop them into the garbage. Blump. Yeah, this is decent work in progress. I'm happy with this so far. I was born a dragonfly, and in the shade she warms her wings and listens to cicadas sing. Meow, 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 meow. Cross-pollination. Mirror. Mirror. Beep, mirror. Beep, mirror. That's going to be frame. And then texture. Yeah, it feels a little crowded, doesn't it? A little crowded. What do we need to do? Yeah, that's legit. Free transform equals maybe down a bit, just so it's not squeezing the space so much, you know. Yeah, so far so good. I'm happy. This is all going to turn out a-okay. If I can sketch out a third page like that, I can clean that up and just use the color reference that we have for the actual ship token. I think we're going to be okay. Still a little rough, but it's not bad. I don't have to break my nose over it. What if we ship? What if we stretched it out just a touch? How would that feel if we elongated it just a... Yeah, I think I added to it. There, and then we're gonna take here and here, and we're gonna push those back a bit. Twist. So far, so good. All right, that's today. So let's see. We're gonna be back. We're gonna be back in 12 in about 11-ish hours, 11 or 12 hours, somewhere in there, to do some cartography for our Eberron adventure. So we'll be mapping a village, and then we'll be back tomorrow morning. I honestly don't know what we're going to be doing tomorrow morning. Maybe more of this. I think I'm happy with this guy as it is for now. That's as far as I'm going to take this one until I get more language built in. So I think when we come back tomorrow, we're just going to do some more sketches, just kicking through pages and just filling content until I have a rough idea of what each page is supposed to look like. And then we can come back, we can start rendering stuff. And some of that will be on screen, some of that will be in my own time, in my own production, listening to Tool and Pantera, Sepultura. But we'll be back. Yeah, this is feeling strong. So cool. Thanks, guys. Like, subscribe. Be welcome to follow me on Twitter at Phil Kearney. It's in the description down below. I'll post that island bubble picture that we completed just a little bit ago. I'll post that just for looksies. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys on the next side. So see y'all later. Hopefully in about 12. Cheers. Nope, wrong screen. Let's go to this one. Haha. Stop.